Have you ever felt underestimated? Like people looked at you and decided who you were before you even opened your mouth? This is a story about that. But it's also a story about what happens when you refuse to let those judgments define you. It asks the story about a group of Filipino students who walked into the heart of American academia and completely changed the game. Our story begins in 2019 at the World University's Debating Championship, the most prestigious debate tournament on the planet. Imagine the Olympics. But for arguments, it's held in a different country each year. And this time, it was in Cape Town, South Africa. The best and brightest from universities like Harvard, Yale, Oxford, and Cambridge all gathered to battle it out with words and logic. It's an intimidating environment, to say the least. Among them were two students from the Philippines, Toby Luing and David Africa, representing Ateneo de Manila University. Now, debate culture in the Philippines is fierce, but on the world stage, they were often seen as underdogs. They were competing in a category called ESL, or English as a Second Language. Right there, in the name of the category, is a label. It implies that their English isn't their first language, which, while true for many Filipinos, can sometimes carry an unspoken assumption of being less proficient, less fluent, or less capable. And that's exactly the kind of subtle prejudice they faced. In the preliminary rounds, they were crushing it. They were sharp, their arguments were layered, and their delivery was passionate. But they started noticing something strange. After their speeches, some adjudicators, often professors from American or British universities, would approach them. They weren't just giving feedback. They were questioning them. Is English really your second language? They'd ask, with a hint of suspicion. Your English is too good. It wasn't meant as a simple compliment. It felt more like an accusation. The implication was clear. You could unpossibly be this skilled at debating in English if it was on your native tongue. It was as if their success couldn't be explained by talent or hard work alone. There had to be some kind of mistake, some reason they didn't belong in the box they had been placed in. Imagine the frustration. You've spent countless hours training, researching, and honing your craft, only to have your success met with skepticism instead of recognition. Every victory was tainted with this subtle doubt. It's a classic example of what's called a microaggression, seemingly harmless comments that chip away at you, making you feel like an outsider. They were being told, in essence, you're too good to be from where you're from. Toby and David weren't the only ones. Other Filipino teams at the tournament experienced the same thing. It created this weird, shared experience among them. They were performing at an elite level, yet they were constantly being reminded that they were perceived as other. But here's where the story takes a turn. Instead of letting this frustration get to them, they channeled it. Every skeptical question, every surprised look, just added more fuel to their fire. They weren't just debating for a trophy anymore. They were debating to prove a point. They were fighting to shatter the stereotypes that were being thrown at them. They kept winning. Round after round, they dismantled arguments, presented compelling cases, and won over rooms full of judges. They weren't just good for ESL speakers. They were just plain good. Their journey through the tournament became a powerful statement. They reached the ESL Grand Final. This was the moment of truth. The motion for the debate was a complex one about the global brain drain phenomenon. It was a topic that hit close to home, as the Philippines has a long history of its brightest minds leaving for opportunities abroad. Toby and David didn't just debate the topic, they owned it. They brought a perspective that many of their Western counterparts might have only understood in theory. They spoke with an authenticity and a passion born from lived reality. They weren't just reciting talking points, they were sharing a piece of their national story. And then the announcement came. Toby Lung and David Africa from Ateneo de Manila University were crowned the World University's debating champions in the English as a second language category. They had done it. They had reached the summit. But the story doesn't end there, because what happened next was even more remarkable. The very same year, something incredible was happening back home. the Philippines was set to host the Asian-British Parliamentary Debating Championship. This is the biggest and most prestigious tournament in Asia. And for the first time ever, it was being held in the Philippines. Teams from all over the continent flocked to Manila. But the home field advantage was real. The Filipino debate community, energized by the success of Toby and David and fired up by the years of being underestimated, was ready to show the world what they were made of. When the dust settled, the results were staggering. In all three categories of the championship, the open category, the English as a second language category, and the English as a foreign language category, Filipino teams took home the gold. All of them. It was a complete and total sweep. An unprecedented clean sweep on home soil. Think about that. From being questioned whether their English was too good to be Filipino debaters had now conquered the entire Asian continent, proving their dominance across every single category. It was a mic drop moment for the entire country. This wasn't just a series of wins. It was a paradigm shift. It forced the global debate community to sit up and take notice. The Philippines was no longer just a participant. It was a powerhouse. The narrative had been flipped. The underdog had become the champion. What does this story really teach us? It's a powerful lesson about the danger of stereotypes and the power of resilience. Those professors who questioned Toby and David weren't necessarily being malicious. They were operating on a set of assumptions, a limited worldview that couldn't comprehend that excellence could come from places they didn't expect. Their surprise was a reflection of their own biases, and that's something we can all learn from. How often do we make snap judgments about people based on their accent, their name, or where they come from? How often do we put people in boxers without realizing it? The story of the Filipino debaters is a testament to what happens when you refuse to stay in that box. They took the doubts and used them as motivation. They showed that talent knows no nationality, and skill is not limited by your native language. More than that, they showed the world the unique strength that comes from a different perspective. Their understanding of global issues wasn't just academic, it was personal. And that brought a depth and a power to their arguments that was undeniable. So the next time you feel underestimated, the next time someone doubts your ability because of who you are or where you're from, remember this story. Remember Toby Loong and David Africa. Remember the clean sweep at the Asian Championships? Let their victory be a reminder that the world's perception of you does not define your potential. You define it. Your hard work, your passion, and your unique voice are your greatest assets. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Thank you so much for watching. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had an experience where you proved the doubters wrong. I'd love to hear your stories. See you in the next one.